Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Christ, today I want to talk about something so simple yet so powerful. It can shift the very currents of your life. I'm talking about the sacred union of faith, words, and action, channeled through something you already have in your hands: money. You see, money is not just paper, not just coins, not just numbers in a bank account. It is a symbol, a tool, and in the realm of the spirit, it is energy that responds to the vibration of your words. When you hold cash in your hand, you're holding the evidence of supply, proof that the universe, through the divine law of God, is already providing for you. But here's the secret: when you bless it, when you speak words of life over it, you multiply not just the money in your hand, but the flow of prosperity that surrounds you. This is not about greed, but about aligning yourself with the abundance that your Heavenly Father has already prepared for you. Today, I will show you how a simple spoken declaration, uttered in faith while holding cash, can open the floodgates of increase in your life. When you look at money, whether it's a single note or a handful of cash, you are not merely looking at paper inked with numbers and designs. You are looking at a physical representation of something much greater: divine supply. Each bill, each coin, is a tangible reminder that God's provision is active in your life. It has traveled through countless hands, fulfilled countless needs, and now it rests in yours, not by accident, but by divine appointment. Money, in its truest essence, is a symbol, and symbols carry meaning. In the spiritual realm, it is not just currency, it is evidence. Evidence that the same God who fed the sparrows and clothed the lilies is attentive to you, your needs, your dreams, and your destiny. To see cash is to see proof that the law of supply is already working in your favor. But the human mind has been conditioned to view money through the lens of limitation and scarcity. For many, a small amount in the hand is a reminder of what they don't have, rather than what they do. This mindset distorts the truth, because in God's economy, even the smallest seed can multiply beyond measure. A mustard seed, though tiny, holds the potential to become a great tree. Likewise, a single bill in your hand carries within it the potential for more. When you begin to view it as a symbol of God's supply, rather than a measure of lack, something shifts deep within your spirit. You are no longer looking at just money. You are looking at a physical sign that the channels of provision are open. Consider the journey of that cash. Before it reached you, it may have been used to feed a family, build a home, pay for education, or bless someone in need. It has been circulating, carrying with it the energy of exchange, the movement of value from one life to another. And now it has entered your life story, carrying the same potential to fulfill a need, meet a goal, or unlock an opportunity. When you see it this way, you stop underestimating what is in your hand. You begin to acknowledge it as a messenger from the divine, whispering, "Provision is here, and more is coming." In the teachings of spiritual law, symbols are not to be dismissed. They are to be honored. Just as a wedding ring symbolizes covenant, and bread and wine symbolize the body and blood of Christ, money symbolizes God's provision in the material realm. To treat it casually or with resentment is to reject the message it brings. But to treat it with reverence, gratitude, and expectancy is to align yourself with the source of supply. You recognize that this symbol is not the end. It is a bridge. It points beyond itself to the infinite abundance of God, a well that never runs dry. When Florence Scovel Shinn spoke of prosperity, she didn't speak of money as a cold, lifeless object. She spoke of it as something that responds to the vibration of your thoughts and words, something that mirrors your inner state. If you see it as scarce, it appears scarce. If you see it as abundant, it multiplies. This is why she often emphasized that the spiritual person must develop the habit of seeing and declaring abundance in every form. Money is just one expression of that abundance, but it is a powerful one because it is so closely tied to our daily lives. When you hold money and see it as divine supply, you are doing more than changing your perspective. You are activating a spiritual law. Just as faith without works is dead, so is faith without recognition. You cannot attract and multiply what you do not acknowledge. When you acknowledge that the money in your hand is a symbol of God's ongoing provision, you step into agreement with the flow of abundance. You begin to carry yourself differently, think differently, and speak differently. Instead of complaining about what you lack, you begin to thank God for the evidence of supply you already have, knowing it is only the beginning. Think of the miracle of the loaves and fishes. Jesus took what was available, a small lunch, and lifted it to heaven, blessing it and giving thanks. That simple act of recognition and gratitude unlocked the power of multiplication. What was in his hands became more than enough, feeding thousands with baskets left over. The same principle applies to the money you hold today. By recognizing it as a gift from the divine, by blessing it and speaking life over it, you prepare it for multiplication. You see it not as the limit of your supply, but as the starting point of increase. Money, as a symbol, will only mean what you decide it means. To some, it is a reminder of debt, struggle, and fear. To others, it is a token of gratitude, provision, and opportunity. The choice is always yours. When you decide to see it through the lens of divine supply, you begin to feel differently about it. You no longer see it as elusive or hard to get. Instead, you see it as something that flows naturally toward you, something that is meant to move through your life with ease and purpose. This shift in perception is not just psychological, it is spiritual. It changes the way you interact with money and, in turn, the way money interacts with you. Money is not evil, it is neutral. It takes on the nature of the hands that hold it and the heart that directs it. In the hands of one who walks in faith, it becomes a tool for good, a means to bless others, to expand the kingdom of God, and to live in alignment with divine purpose. By seeing it as a symbol of God's supply, you also see yourself as a steward of that supply, and a faithful steward is always entrusted with more. If you want, I can expand keynote no. 200 next in the exact same style, so it flows like a continuous speech. Would you like me to do that? Words are not just sounds formed by the mouth and carried by the air. They are living forces, creative seeds that carry the power to shape reality. In the spiritual law, every word is a decree, every declaration is a command, and every utterance sets something in motion. The spoken word, especially when charged with faith, has the ability to draw toward you the very thing you speak of. When you bless the money in your hand, when you speak life and increase over it, you are aligning your personal vibration with the frequency of abundance, and that alignment has a magnetic pull. Florence Scovel Shinn often said that your word is your wand, and just as a wand in a magician's hand directs energy toward a desired outcome, so do your words direct the flow of spiritual supply. There is a reason Scripture tells us that life and death are in the power of the tongue. Your words have the capacity to breathe life into your finances or drain them of their vitality. When you hold cash and declare words of blessing over it, you are imprinting it with your intention. You are infusing it with the energy of expansion. You are saying to the universe and to the divine law, this is good, this is blessed, and it multiplies as it goes. In the unseen realm, those words go forth and begin drawing more of the same into your life. Just as a seed in fertile soil responds to water and sunlight, so does the seed of your spoken word respond to the light of your faith and the water of your gratitude. Many people speak carelessly about money. They complain about not having enough, they grumble about bills, they talk about how hard it is to make ends meet. Every one of those words carries weight, and every one of those words sows a seed. Unfortunately, a seed of lack and limitation. If you continually affirm struggle, you call more struggle into your life. The spiritual law of the spoken word does not differentiate between what you want and what you do not want. It simply brings into form the essence of what you speak and feel with conviction. That is why blessing your money while you hold it is such a powerful act. It interrupts any negative patterns you may have unconsciously reinforced and replaces them with intentional declarations of abundance. When you speak over your money, It is not about chanting empty phrases or repeating hollow affirmations. It is about speaking from a place of deep knowing, a place where your words and your faith are in complete agreement. The tone of your voice, the energy behind your words, and the belief in your heart all combine to create a vibration that is felt in the spiritual realm. Florence would remind her listeners that the words you speak should feel alive to you, as if you could already see and touch the result they will produce. This is why declarations like, "Money comes to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources, in perfect ways," are not just statements. They are invitations to the divine supply to manifest in visible form. There is also an anointing in the act of blessing. When you bless your money, you are consecrating it for good purposes. You are assigning it a divine mission before it even leaves your hand. Whether it is used to pay a bill, buy a gift, invest in a venture, or support a cause, your blessing ensures it carries an energy of increase and returns to you multiplied. This is the spiritual law of return. What you send out, blessed and multiplied, comes back to you in greater measure. It is why Jesus spoke of giving as a way to receive, give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Speaking blessings over your money is a way of giving it into the divine flow before it even moves into circulation. Your words also have the power to shift your relationship with money instantly. If you have ever felt tension, fear, or guilt about money, speaking blessings while holding it can dissolve those feelings and replace them with peace, gratitude, and confidence. This shift is vital because the energy you hold toward money determines how it moves in your life. Fear repels, faith attracts. Resentment blocks, gratitude opens. When you choose to speak life over your finances, you are choosing to open the gates for more to come in. The spoken word is also a tool for reprogramming the subconscious mind. Many of your beliefs about money were formed years ago, perhaps from your upbringing, culture, or past experiences. Some of these beliefs may no longer serve you, yet they still operate in the background, influencing your reality. By speaking intentional, faith-filled words over your money every time you hold it, you are replacing those old patterns with new ones rooted in abundance and divine supply. Over time, this reprogramming becomes so natural that prosperity begins to flow without resistance. Florence taught that you must speak as if you already possess the good you desire, for in the spiritual realm, it is already yours. When you hold cash and say, "I bless this money and see it multiplying in my hands," you are not making a wish. You are declaring a spiritual fact. You are speaking in alignment with God's truth that supply is endless and ever-flowing. The words you speak are not meant to convince God to bless you. They are meant to align your own mind and heart with the blessing that is already available. The spiritual law of the spoken word is precise, dependable, and unfailing when applied with faith and consistency. Just as the laws of gravity or electricity work the same way for everyone, the law of words works without partiality. What you speak with conviction, you invite into your life. What you continually affirm, you eventually experience. This is why it is so crucial to guard your tongue and ensure that the words you speak about money are words of blessing, expansion, and gratitude. Everything in this universe is energy. The chair you sit on, the air you breathe, the thoughts you think, and the money you hold in your hand are all made up of vibrating energy at different frequencies. In the material realm, money appears as paper, coins, or numbers on a screen, but in the spiritual realm, it is pure energy, neutral, ready to respond to the vibration you send out. Just like a radio receives the frequency it's tuned to, money responds to the signal you emit through your emotions, thoughts, and words. If your energy is aligned with gratitude, confidence, and abundance, you are tuned to the frequency where money flows easily to you. If your energy is wrapped in fear, doubt, or scarcity, you are tuned to the frequency where money is always just out of reach. When you hold cash in your hand, you are engaging with energy in physical form. That energy carries the imprint of the thoughts, feelings, and intentions of every person it has passed through. If it was used in a generous act, it carries the energy of generosity. If it was received in gratitude, it carries the energy of appreciation. Money is constantly circulating, moving from one person's life to another, carrying with it the essence of the exchanges it has been part of. This is why your personal interaction with money is so important. Every time you touch it, you are contributing to the energy it carries forward, and in turn, influencing the energy that returns to you. In Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings, she often emphasized that like attracts like, not just in the material sense, but in the energetic sense. The energy you radiate about money is the energy you invite back into your life. If you approach it with resentment, money will find less reason to stay in your presence. If you approach it with joy and respect, it will seek you out more readily. This is the essence of the energy exchange principle. Every transaction you have with money is an exchange not just of value but of vibration. You give something, your work, your service, your product, and in return, you receive money infused with the vibration of that exchange. When you understand this, you realize that holding cash is not a passive act, it is an energetic conversation. You are telling the universe how you feel about what you have, and that feeling becomes the signal for what you will receive next. If you hold it tightly with fear, you are saying, I don't trust that more will come. And the universe mirrors that belief. If you hold it lightly, bless it, and send it forth with gratitude, you are saying, I live in an abundant flow. And the universe sends more to match. This is why rituals such as blessing money or speaking affirmations over it are so powerful. They shift the vibration of both you and the money you hold. If cash carries any residual energy from fear, lack, or struggle, your blessing and intention cleans it. You infuse it with high vibration, gratitude, love, generosity, before it continues its journey. And because energy is cyclical, that same vibration returns to you in multiplied form. Think of it like planting seeds. The quality of the seed you plant determines the quality of the harvest you receive. If you sow seeds of resentment, worry, or greed into your financial life, your harvest will reflect that. But if you sow seeds of joy, gratitude, and expectation into every interaction with money, your harvest will be abundant. The energy exchange principle ensures that what you give out always circles back to you, sometimes directly, sometimes through unexpected channels, but always in harmony with the vibration you sent out. You also become aware that money is not the only form of this exchange. Kindness, service, and value are currencies in themselves. When you give generously in spirit, you raise your own vibration, and that higher frequency naturally attracts more abundance, often in the form of money. This is why some people seem to always have more than enough. Their energy is perpetually tuned to generosity, gratitude, and trust, so the flow of energy, of which money is one expression, never stops. When you hold money, imagine it as a river, not a pond. A pond sits still, and without movement, its water grows stagnant. A river flows, carrying freshness, life, and renewal. Money works the same way. If you let it flow freely, blessing it as it moves, it will return to you, fresh and multiplied. If you hoard it in fear, you block the very flow that sustains it. The energy exchange thrives on movement, giving and receiving, releasing and welcoming. In your own life, you can begin to feel the difference between transactions made in fear and those made in trust. Paying a bill grudgingly lowers your vibration. Paying it with gratitude for the service or opportunity it represents raises it. Receiving money with suspicion lowers your vibration. Receiving it with joy raises it. This energetic pattern becomes a feedback loop, with each interaction influencing the next. The more you consciously choose high vibration exchanges, the more abundance becomes your natural state. This is not about pretending to feel good when you don't. It is about genuinely shifting your inner state to align with the truth that God is your ultimate source. Money is simply one of the channels through which that supply flows. When you treat money as energy, you stop giving it power over you and instead recognize that you have power over how you engage with it. You become the one setting the tone, the one directing the flow, the one deciding whether your financial life vibrates at the frequency of lack or the frequency of plenty. Gratitude is one of the most magnetic forces in the universe. It is not just a polite feeling or a fleeting thought. It is a spiritual state that aligns you with the flow of abundance. When you are truly grateful, you are acknowledging the good that already exists in your life, and by doing so, you open the door for more to come. Holding cash in your hand and speaking words of thanks over it transforms the money from a mere object into a powerful magnet for prosperity. Gratitude amplifies its vibration, and because like attracts like, more of that energy begins to find its way to you. When you hold money and express gratitude, you are sending a clear message to the universe. I recognize this as good, and I am ready for more. This message is not just heard in the spiritual realm, it is felt. Gratitude shifts your emotional state, softens feelings of fear or lack, and fills you with a sense of sufficiency and contentment. This shift in energy changes what you draw toward yourself. The person who gives thanks for the little they have is preparing themselves for much, while the one who complains about what they lack closes the door to increase. Gratitude is like a signal flare in the spiritual realm. It lets the divine law know where to send more blessings. Florence Scovel Shinn often spoke about the power of praising what you want to multiply. She understood that the act of blessing and giving thanks in advance was a way of declaring faith. Faith says, I already have it, and gratitude is the proof that you believe that truth. Even if the money in your hand is only a single bill, your thanks for it declares to the universe that you see it as part of an endless supply. You are not measuring the amount. You are celebrating the flow. This removes the sense of limitation and places you in harmony with the law of increase. Gratitude also changes the way you experience your financial life. Without it, money can feel like a source of stress or struggle. With it, money becomes a source of joy, a reminder of the generosity of God and the infinite supply of the universe. When you pick up a note and bless it with words like, "Thank you, Lord, that I always have more than enough," you are not only appreciating what you have, you are also creating a spiritual blueprint for what is to come. That gratitude sets the tone for every other interaction you have with money, from spending to saving to giving. When you combine gratitude with the physical act of holding cash, the experience becomes even more powerful. Touch has a grounding effect. It brings your focus fully into the present moment. As you hold the money, you feel its texture, its weight, and you allow yourself to fully connect with it as a symbol of provision. Then, as you speak words of thanks, you are infusing that money with the energy of your appreciation. This is more than just a mental exercise. It is an energetic exchange that raises the vibration of the money and, by the law of attraction, calls more of it into your life. Gratitude is also a remedy for fear. Many people live in a constant state of anxiety about money, wondering if they'll have enough, fearing unexpected expenses, or worrying about the future. But fear and gratitude cannot exist in the same space at the same time. When you choose gratitude, fear has no place to stay. Holding cash and giving thanks for it, even if it's not the full amount you think you need, begins to dissolve that fear. You start to see that you are already provided for in this moment, and that acknowledgement becomes a magnet for continued provision. One of the beautiful aspects of gratitude is that it multiplies beyond the object you're thankful for. If you give thanks for the money you have, you'll start to notice other areas of your life where you are blessed. Your health, your relationships, your opportunities. This broadens your awareness of abundance, and that awareness attracts even more. The person who is deeply grateful is constantly opening the door to more good because they are in a state of receptivity. They are not pushing blessings away with thoughts of lack. They are pulling them in with appreciation. You can practice this every time money passes through your hands. When you receive it, give thanks. When you spend it, give thanks. When you save it, give thanks. In this way, you transform every financial transaction into an act of faith and gratitude. This consistent practice builds a powerful momentum. Soon, your relationship with money is no longer one of chasing or worrying. It becomes a dance of giving and receiving, with gratitude as the rhythm that keeps it moving. Even in moments when the amount you hold is small, gratitude has the power to shift your perception. You stop seeing not enough and start seeing more than nothing. That small shift changes everything. It takes you out of the energy of scarcity and puts you into the energy of plenty. The law of abundance responds not to how much you have, but to how you feel about what you have. And gratitude is the feeling that says, "This is good, and I am ready for more good." When gratitude becomes your default response to money, it no longer matters whether you are holding a single bill or a stack of them. The feeling is the same, and that feeling is what multiplies your supply. The amount may change, but the source remains infinite, and your gratitude keeps you connected to that source. You begin to trust that no matter what the numbers say, you are always in the flow of divine provision, and that flow is never ending. Faith is the great divider between those who live in constant worry about money and those who walk in the steady assurance of abundance. Faith is not wishful thinking or blind hope. It is a deep, unshakable knowing that God is your source, and that supply is always on its way, even when your current circumstances try to convince you otherwise. When you hold cash in your hand, you have a choice. You can see it through the lens of fear, thinking of how quickly it will be spent and how little will remain. Or you can see it through the eyes of faith, knowing that this is only a glimpse of what is already flowing toward you. Faith allows you to treat what you have as evidence of more to come rather than the limit of what is possible. Fear is the great thief of prosperity because it blocks the flow of supply. When you operate from fear, you are essentially telling the universe, "I do not believe more will come," and the divine law responds to that vibration by matching it with scarcity. Faith, on the other hand, is expansive. It opens the door for increase. Florence Scovel Shinn often reminded her listeners that fear and faith cannot dwell in the same mind, and every moment you choose faith over fear, you align yourself with abundance. Holding cash and speaking words of increase is an act of faith. You are declaring that you expect more, that you believe more is coming, and that you trust the source from which all provision flows. Faith is not dependent on the amount in your hand. It is a position of the heart. You can have little and still walk in the confidence of great supply, just as you can have much and still live in the anxiety of losing it. The difference lies in where you place your trust. If your trust is in the visible amount, your security will always be fragile because amounts change. If your trust is in the invisible source, God, the divine law of supply, your security is unshakable because that source is infinite. When you hold cash and declare abundance, you are choosing to anchor your faith in what cannot be seen rather than what is in front of you. Faith also transforms your relationship with timing. Fear demands immediate proof. Faith is content to trust the process. When you speak life over your money, you may not see an instant multiplication in your wallet. But faith knows that the seed has been planted. Just as a farmer does not dig up his seeds to check if they are growing, a person of faith does not keep questioning whether their declaration will work. They know it will, because spiritual law is as certain as natural law. You don't question whether the sun will rise. You know it will. In the same way, you don't question whether your faith-filled words will return to you multiplied. You know they must. Faith has a cleansing power as well. It washes away the residue of past experiences. Times when money was scarce, when bills were unpaid, when opportunities seemed blocked. Those memories, if left unchecked, can anchor you in fear and cause you to doubt the possibility of abundance. But faith speaks louder than the past. When you hold cash and declare in faith that your supply is endless, you are reprogramming your mind to expect increase instead of bracing for lack. You stop reliving the old story of struggle and start writing a new story of provision and overflow. Fear tends to focus on what might go wrong, while faith focuses on what is already right. When you look at the money in your hand, fear says, "It's not enough." But faith says, "This is proof that more is on the way." Fear says, "It will run out." But faith says, "It will multiply." Fear tightens its grip and blocks the flow, but faith opens its hand and allows money to circulate freely, knowing it will always return. In this way, faith is not just a belief, it is a posture, a way of moving through the world that keeps you in harmony with the law of increase. Even in moments when your supply seems small, faith keeps your vibration high. It prevents you from lowering your energy to match a temporary circumstance. When you hold cash and speak with conviction, "I am always supplied, I always have more than enough," you are not ignoring reality, you are reshaping it. You are declaring the truth of the spiritual realm until it becomes the truth of the physical realm. This is why people of faith often see provision come in ways they could never have predicted: unexpected opportunities, surprising gifts, or sudden breakthroughs. Faith does not need to know how, it only needs to know that. Faith also frees you from the constant cycle of striving. Without it, you may feel as though you have to control every detail, manipulate every outcome, and work harder and harder to secure your supply. With faith, you release the need to control and step into the ease of trusting that you are guided, provided for, and cared for by an infinite source. You still take action, but it is inspired action, not desperate scrambling. This shift not only attracts more abundance, but also allows you to enjoy the process rather than fear it. When fear arises, as it sometimes will, faith is the answer. You do not have to pretend fear doesn't exist, but you can choose not to feed it. You can take that fear and counter it with declarations of truth. My supply is endless. I am divinely provided for. I live in abundance. Speaking these words while holding cash reinforces the belief in your heart and signals to the universe that you are standing in faith, no matter what appearances say. Over time, fear loses its grip and faith becomes your natural state. Prosperity is not meant to be a one-time event or a rare stroke of luck. It is designed to be a continual flow, a circulation that moves through your life with ease. Just as the blood in your body must keep moving to sustain life, money must keep circulating to sustain financial health. When you understand the law of circulation, you realize that holding on to money in fear or hoarding it disrupts the flow, while blessing it and allowing it to move creates a return far greater than what was released. Every act of giving, every purchase made in gratitude, every investment in faith, sets into motion a cycle that brings multiplied blessings back to you. The money you send out, infused with gratitude and intention, becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of the universe, destined to return to you in an expanded form. When you hold cash and bless it before it leaves your hands, you are doing more than simply releasing money. You are releasing energy. You are sending forth a vibration that says, "I trust the flow of abundance. I know that as I give, I also receive." This belief keeps the channels of provision open. Florence Scovel Shinn often compared prosperity to the tide. There is an ebb and flow. If you try to stop the tide from going out, you also stop it from coming in. The same is true for money. If you cling to it in fear, you block the return. If you allow it to circulate freely, you ensure its continual movement toward you. Circulation of prosperity works in both visible and invisible ways. The visible is easy to track. You give money for goods or services, you invest in something, you make a donation, and later you see financial returns in some form. But the invisible is even more powerful. Sometimes the money you release returns not directly in cash, but in opportunities, relationships, or unexpected forms of blessing. A bill you were worried about gets reduced, a new client appears without you seeking them, or a door opens in your career that leads to greater income. These are all manifestations of the circulation of prosperity. The key is to trust that the return will come, even if the path it takes is unknown. When you see money as part of an ongoing cycle rather than a fixed amount, you stop fearing its departure. You understand that money is meant to move through you, to others, and back again. This mindset transforms your entire relationship with giving and spending. Instead of feeling loss when money leaves your hands, you feel expectation. You send it forth as an emissary, knowing it will return with companions. The act of blessing your money before it leaves ensures it carries the energy of increase wherever it goes, influencing its journey and multiplying the harvest that comes back to you. Circulation is also about reciprocity. When you release money into the world with gratitude and trust, you make space for more to flow in. If your hands are clenched tightly around what you have, they are not open to receive. Open hands, open heart, open flow. Prosperity is a partnership between giving and receiving. Some people give easily but struggle to receive, feeling unworthy or uncomfortable. Others receive gladly but hold back from giving, fearing they won't have enough. True circulation requires both. When you practice both with joy, the flow becomes unstoppable. This principle is not limited to large sums, it works no matter the amount. Even the smallest act of giving, done in faith and gratitude, participates in the circulation of prosperity. Florence often encouraged people to give in proportion to their faith, not just their means. If you have only a little but release it with the consciousness of abundance, it multiplies in ways that defy logic. The spiritual law does not measure the size of the gift. It measures the spirit in which it is given. The circulation of prosperity is also self-reinforcing. The more you experience it, the more you trust it. At first, you may have to consciously remind yourself that what leaves will return multiplied. But over time, as you see it happen again and again, this truth becomes second nature. You begin to expect increase as naturally as you expect the sun to rise. Your confidence in the process grows, and your generosity grows with it. Fear fades, replaced by a steady assurance that you are always in the flow of abundance. Holding cash and blessing it before spending or giving is a way of consciously participating in this law. It takes the act beyond a financial transaction and makes it a spiritual one. You are no longer just paying for something. You are sowing a seed. You are not just giving a gift. You are setting a return in motion. This practice keeps you mindful of the truth that money is not the source, it is the channel. The source is infinite, and as long as you remain in the flow, the channel will always be supplied. The beauty of circulation is that it benefits everyone involved. The person or business you give to is blessed. You are blessed in the act of giving, and the ripple effects touch others in ways you may never see. Your money can feed a family, support a dream, fund a vision, or solve a problem. In doing so, it generates goodwill and gratitude, which in turn contribute to the overall energy of abundance in the world. That collective energy makes it easier for prosperity to circulate back to you, because you are part of a larger flow that sustains itself. Circulation also keeps you from falling into stagnation. Just as still water grows stale, stagnant money loses its vitality. The movement keeps it alive, fresh, and multiplying. Every time you bless and release money, you are affirming that there is always more where that came from. This affirmation is not empty. It is rooted in the reality of divine supply. By participating fully in the circulation of prosperity, you keep yourself in harmony with a law that is as constant and dependable as the turning of the seasons.